Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to HitScan. We've already got so much information on Valorant, with new gameplay, interviews with the Riot devs, and even AMAs from those that have played the game at previous events. But there's still so much information that's out there that not a lot of people have noticed as they've slipped through the cracks. Not only that, there's a huge amount of misinformation about the game flying around too. So in this video we're going over 40 things that you probably may not have heard about, but you should really know. And we got to start with the biggest form of PSA, the closed beta. Eurogamer had an article that was out yesterday saying the following. The game is releasing in summer 2020, which we know, with a beta starting in the next few days. Of course, people saw this and started losing their minds. We're going to be playing Valorant by the end of the week. Riot quickly nipped this in the bud and told people like Dixerto that the claim that the beta starting in the next few days is 100% false. So that's kind of what I mean about a lot of misinformation. There are rumours circulating that the beta may be starting in 3 weeks' time, we just do not know that yet. Once we do know, we'll be sure to tell you. And that's just one bit of information, we have 39 more to go through. So let's start with a cool one based around the characters. From the gameplay that we've seen, 8 heroes have been announced. Brimstone, Cypher, Jet, Omen, Phoenix, Sage, Savar, and Viper. But what not a lot of people know is that there's going to be 4 more agents available at launch. This question comes from the Invin article asking how often do they plan to add new agents. They talk about how agents are going to impact the game heavily, but finish the question saying that at launch there will be 12 agents available. So don't worry if you haven't picked your main yet. We've still got quite a few heroes to be added to the game still. The next thing we need to go over is quite obvious, or at least most of you would assume that this would be the case, but just for confirmation, you can't switch your heroes like in Overwatch in the middle of a game. When you pick a character, you play them throughout. That also means that there's no hero switch at half time, having different heroes for defense and attack, much like you would have in Siege. To quote the Polygon article that this came from, if you pick an agent that's especially good on defense, you'll need to remember that you might just be putting your team at a disadvantage on offense. What's the hero selection going to be like? Is it going to be first come first serve? If I want to play Jet, do I need to hope that I load in quicker than anybody else so I can select them? The answer for now is yes. This came from an AMA translation with Isaac, who is a Polish streamer that was at the previous event that people like AlphaCast and Henry G were at. He said in the lobby it was who clicked faster on character could play them, but it's probably going to be done some different way. There can't be 2 of the same characters on one team, but you can have mirror matchups. But both of these things are open to change. An AMA interview on Reddit with Classic, who is the lead game designer, answered this question. How will Valorant deal with main-in/1 trick in particular agents? Can you have multiple of one character in a team? Can you queue as a character and a second character like queuing as a role in League? Classic says we'll see as the game progresses. We have our own theories but open to see how people play and we'll make any adjustments as necessary. So for closed beta, no doubt it's a case of who comes first by looks of it, but they are definitely looking to change this system, which I think is a good thing. The final thing I wanted to highlight with the characters are the hitbox and health size. All of them are the same. You don't have any Gibraltar BS from Apex Legends going on. Everybody's the same height and gets headshot in the same ways. Classic was asked why that's the case. Does it limit development? And Classic says, this deserves a long answer, I'll write something up for later. The simple answer is we focused on tight, lethal, tactical gameplay. Changing HP or hitbox has significant impact on gameplay, and we want agents to be chosen for their toolkits, not passive stats like that. This goes nicely onto the abilities of Valorant, and I think Riot got a lot of flack early on with their gameplay reveal, with how ability intensive the round that they showed off was. There was a lot of stuff going on, it was very hard to follow, and it seemed a bit much. But a lot of people that have played the game have turned around and said that the game isn't as intensive as this round made it out to be. Polygon went over this point quite well. Do I have to use abilities or can I just shoot? Polygon said that you can just be successful without ever using an ability, but in order to reach the game's highest level, you'll need to master both gunplay and ability use. Abilities are more like utility than anything. They also mentioned that you can't just use abilities if you're not very good at shooting. You might still find that you're somewhat useful for your team if you're just using abilities, but you won't be doing much good overall if you can't win a gunfight. There are agents with easier skills to master, but there aren't any characters that will make the shooting easier. Isaac said something similar when he was playing with ex-CSGO pro Pasha Biceps. He was more focused on killing, not using the abilities, and he had 29 kills for maps. So the abilities within Valorant aren't as crazy or as dictating as they are in something like Overwatch. They are just utility, kinda like smokes and molotovs and flashbangs in CSGO. Every agent in the game has 4 different abilities. Every single one of them has a signature ability, which they get for free at the start of every round. Some of these abilities are single use, once it's used you can't use it again until the next round, but some have a cooldown, for example Sage's Heal or Savard's Recon Bolt, they have a 35-second cooldown as you've seen on screen, or they may have a gauge meter like Viper's Smoke Wall. Every agent also has the ability to buy 2 unique abilities during their buy phase. A lot of the abilities within Valorant also have multiple charges, ranging from just the 1 to up to 3, but you can just buy 1 charge of these abilities. We see a very quick glimpse of this from Phoenix's perspective, buying 1 extra charge of Curveball for 100 credits. So if you only have a couple hundred left, you can just buy 1 charge instead of spending more money to buy the lot, if that makes sense. They work very similar to utility within CSGO, but unlike utility in Counter-Strike, if you die while still holding onto an ability charge, you keep it for the next round. In CSGO, if you're carrying a smoke and you die, you lose that smoke. You start the next round, you need to buy another one. That's not the case within Valorant. If you die with a charge of Curveball, you'll still have it for the next round. The same with ultimates. Speaking of ultimates, you can't just buy them, you either earn them from killing enemies, collecting these orbs on the map like we're seeing Volcano do on Phoenix here. You can see that he needs 1 more charge and gets his ultimate from grabbing it, but also according to Isaac, you also get them when you die too. So even if you're not getting frags and you die 7 times, you can still get your ultimate halfway in, but you can get them more frequently if you're getting the kills and collecting orbs. Looking at some of the mechanics around gameplay, is bunny hopping in Valorant? The answer is yes. Classic said in his AMA, we'd like movement to be expressive in Valorant, letting players pull off trick jumps, etc. We don't intend on players moving around the map at huge speeds though, so you can bunny hop but you can't exploit it that you're travelling across the map at super speeds. Not a major feature, but an important one. There will be a reconnect feature at the launch of the game, so if you do disconnect, you can jump straight back in. Doesn't seem a major thing, but it's still an area that some games mess up on. But like I mentioned before, with the gameplay round that Riot put out being a bit too ability focused, Isaac said that it's really not that bad. Isaac said that the people in the gameplay were clearly overusing abilities to show them in a short period of time. It's not optimal to use them as much as shown because they're not so good. We won't see those abilities as frequently. It's easy to counterplay them as they are easily noticeable. For example, with the Recon Bolt ability that Savard has, you can shoot down the wallhack arrow. The owl drone, you can also destroy it. If you have good aim, you will still have an advantage. Again, that might put some people off, but I think it's an important aspect of the game that people either don't know or don't care to know. Isaac also mentioned that footsteps are even more noticeable in Valorant than they are in CS. Most of the abilities can be heard as well, and no doubt each of them have their own unique sounds that make them distinguishable from one another. It's the same with guns, as Classic says. Each weapon has a unique reload time, so no doubt the heavy weapons like the Ares and the Odin will have long reload times like the Negev does in CS, but also each of them have sound broadcasts so you know what kind of weapons are reloading or shooting. No doubt something we'll cover more in detail when we have more information. Now we get on to how guns and economy works. We'll start with an easy one that most people saw, but just in case you didn't, you can drop other people's guns and armor in the game. You don't drop it onto the floor like CS, you could just send it to them anywhere in the buy phase. So if you go to point A, and the person that needs a gun goes to point C, you can still give them a gun. You don't need to meet in the middle, meaning that you're not on site for when you need to be, you get rushed, yada yada. The economy system also tells you how much money you will have at least for the start of the next map, which is really helpful if you're wanting to eco or half eco rounds, making sure that you have enough money just in case you lose that round and want to really prepare for the next one. Friendly fire is a bit of a weird one. We saw a little bit of this gameplay from our exclusive footage, which made it look like there wasn't any friendly fire. But Isaac said there was, maybe it was just in this gameplay that it was turned off, but friendly fire seems to be in the game according to Isaac. One of the key questions around weapons are, will they have weapon sprays like in Counter-Strike? Will they have recoil? Classic said that the weapons will have recoil, bloom spread and error, but most of these guns can be used in ADS as well, as shown in the video. There are also movement inaccuracies when you're moving. so you want to be staying still when you're trying to fire. Some weapons will have less inaccuracies when moving. For example, I imagine the SMGs will be still relatively decent whilst you're on the move, much like they are again in CS. But on the subject of spray pattern and recoil, Classic is going to give us a more in-depth write-up about this, so there's still more information to find out. But people like Isaac have said that it's pretty much 1-on-1 for what CSGO runs, so if you want to know how weapons will run in Valorant, I would suggest jumping into a couple of death matches within Counter-Strike, which is fine because it's a free game anyway. Another area that most people will no doubt know, you can run faster with your knife out, the same as Counter-Strike. And you can also customize crosshair from within the game. We knew a little bit about that already, but it's still important to highlight for those that don't know. When it comes to maps, there are currently 2 maps playable. We saw gameplay from one of them, with playtesters playing the other one, as well as seeing a few screenshots of that map too. The maps are called Bind and Haven. Haven is the map that we've seen the most gameplay of. It's a map that has 3 sites, A, B and C, like we saw in the gameplay, but that doesn't mean that every single map within Valorant will have 3 bomb sites. For example, Bind, which is the other map, only has 2 sites, but it does have the addition of a teleporter teleported between both sites. Like I said, I believe these are some of the screenshots of the map that you're seeing on screen. It changes the pace of the map, and it was also a key area that Riot wanted to highlight, that people have different strategies and ways to play in each of the different maps instead of being somewhat of a carbon copy. For launch, there's going to be 4 maps available in the game, with a 6 to 12 month cycle for additional maps in the future. Map timers are of course important with a game like this. It seems to be that there's a 30-second buy time where both teams can prepare to attack or defend. The normal game time seems to be about 1 minute and 40 seconds, but when the spike is planted, the defender team have 45 seconds to try and defuse it before it detonates. We can tell this because the spike was very close to detonating when this Sova goes to defuse it, and if you look at the video, 45 seconds have roughly passed, which means it's not too far away from what it is in Counter-Strike. Now we go into how the game is going to work. Of course it's free to play, that's common knowledge at this point. But when it comes to cosmetics, there's not going to be any agent skins within the game yet. But it will have gun skins. We've seen a couple of these already, just a couple of screenshots on what they may look like, but these of course change the weapons' looks. There's possibility that they'll add agent skins in the future, but for now the focus is on gun skins only. Also big news, there's not going to be any loot boxes in this game as well. Any gun skins that you want to buy, you can just buy them directly. You pay for the skins that you want. For customization, it also seems that you'll be able to get weapon champs too on some of the guns that you may have, much like in Borderlands 3 and also Siege. There is also going to be a Valorant Battle Pass. Riot didn't give many details about it, but there is a Battle Pass-like system in Valorant that gives players new cosmetic rewards the more that they play. The Polygon article also mentions it's unclear if there will be a new pass every season, but I wanted to really use a point to highlight that Riot said that there's going to be a Battle Pass, not necessarily a seasonal pass. Anna Donlan says this to Invin, saying that there will be an achievement system, but it's not certain if we will implement the season pass system. So it looks like the more that you play, the more stuff you'll get, but it might be achievement based on what skins and cosmetics that you may be able to earn. So you don't need to worry that there's going to be like seasonal DLC or anything like that. Of course the game isn't out yet, so all of that is subject to change. When it comes to post-launch and patching, a key question was asked if there's going to be a 2-week system of patches like League of Legends has. Classic said that they plan to operate as a live service, making updates to the game, but the cadence of these updates has not yet been defined. So it looks like they're going to do something similar to what they do with League, with a consistent cadence of patches, but they're not necessarily saying that they're going to do it every 2 weeks like they have in League. The last couple we need to go over is that there's going to be 128 tick servers across the board. They also said that animated shots are coming in the future to give information on the characters within the game, but they're also looking to do different types of medium too for telling the story of Valorant. Another key area that we don't have an awful lot of information on is how Riot is also really going to focus on toxicity within a game like this. They haven't given any information on how they intend to do that. They spoke a lot about how they tried to do it with League of Legends. We'll be using technology from the shared Riot concepts and having specific salves around certain features that we have inside of our game. Without talking specifically about those features, I probably shouldn't right now. We've done a lot of research to actually make sure and do that work. Just like any solutions, half of it is stopping people from hurting other people, the other half is teaching them the better way to do it. And that was information piece number 40 of information, some of which you may know about, but on the whole, maybe stuff that you've missed, that's really important to know if you're interested in Valorant. If there are any other important bits of information that I haven't highlighted in this video, by all means put it in the comments below. Thanks for watching till the end, take care, and see you soon.